Cinema is a medium that's known for great speeches. They've inspired us,
To do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness.
terrified us,
But if I took this hammer here and I bashed in your skull with it, you would have the same three dimples in the same place as old Ben.
and some have even made us sing along.
Who am I? 2, 4, 6, or 1.
But for me, there's one speech that stands out above all the rest. One that I can turn to when I'm happy or sad, motivated or not. It's a movie speech that I still connect with deeply, even though I've watched it over and over for the last 16 years. It's Sam's speech from the end of The Two Towers. The speech comes after one of the darkest points of the film, just as the audience's hopes are rising with Gandalf's arrival at Helm's Deep and the Ents washing the filth of Saruman away. There comes a moment where it seems like the hopes of all will be lost. Frodo and Sam have been captured and taken against their will to the human city of Osgiliath, where their captors plan on handing over the One Ring to the ruler of Gondor. But on the way, things get even worse. A Nazgul, a hooded terror atop a flying fell beast, attacks the city and calls to the ring. Frodo is powerless to resist this call and walks out, ready to hand the ring back to Sauron. In this one moment, all the good that audiences had so recently experienced could be turned to darkness. Sauron, with the ring, would wipe every character we loved away. But Sam intervenes, and the fell beast flees from the city. Both Frodo and Sam recover from this encounter, knowing just how close they came to losing everything. And Frodo, almost broken by what's happened, says this.
I can't do this, Sam.
But Sam isn't ready to give up.
I know. It's all wrong. By rights, we shouldn't even be here. But we are. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo. The ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you didn't want to know the end. Because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing. This shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come. And when the sun shines, it'll shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you. That meant something. Even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going. Because they were holding on to something. What are we holding on to, Sam? That there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo. And it's worth fighting for.
In this one speech, Sam totally captures why The Lord of the Rings itself is a worldwide phenomenon, breaking the barriers of borders and language. It's not the detailed world building, epic battles, or big floating eyeball that did it. It's the message at the beating heart of the trilogy, a message that everyone, regardless of who they are or where they're from, can relate to. And it's what makes this speech stand out above the rest. It starts with this paragraph, referencing the great stories we heard as children. And this resonates with all of us. Since the dawn of language, humankind has told stories, and they often have a huge impact on us, both culturally and personally. So, whether it's ancient Greek myths or modern legends like Harry Potter, when Sam talks about the old stories he'd heard as a child, literally everyone on the planet can relate. You don't need to have any special knowledge or even be literate. Stories are a part of who we all are. We all understand where he's coming from. The next paragraph is both a statement on those great stories, but it's also a meta narrative statement about The Lord of the Rings itself. How could the end be happy when so much bad had happened? This idea speaks of the despair all of us have faced in our lives in one form or another. It can apply to huge issues like climate change. When you look at its devastating impact, how natural wonders like the Great Barrier Reef and the Amazon are quickly falling to human hands, how can you not despair? But it can also apply to much more personal issues as well. For someone suffering from loss or depression, it can feel like the world is over. You wake up every morning and all you feel is that great black pit of despair, and it feels impossible to imagine a world where that darkness has passed. But it is, in the end, only a passing thing. We can and hopefully do break through that darkness, and when we do, we're almost always the stronger for it. The sun shines, and it shines out the clearer. And the stories that inspire us, that get us through those hard times, do stay with you, because they teach us to hold on to something. They teach us that no matter how hard things get, you can find a reason to keep going, even if the reason is as simple as believing that there's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for. That's what makes Sam's speech so overwhelmingly powerful and universal. It's about hope. It's about finding that hope, even in the face of the darkest of times. Because even when it seems like nothing remains, like the end couldn't possibly be happy, the story of humankind is one of finding hope in those moments, of fighting even when it looks like you can't possibly win. When hatred and fear and death are all around you, but you choose to believe in good and to fight for good, then that's what makes you a hero. It's facing the Great Barrier Reef's extinction and doing everything you can to change its future. And it's waking up in the morning with depression and just choosing to get out of bed and face the day. Sam's speech inspires Frodo to keep going. It inspires Faramir to let the hobbits go, and it inspires everyone who watches it to find the hope in their own lives to keep going. In effect, the speech is a sequel to Gandalf's In the Mines of Moria.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. There are other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, in which case you also were meant to have it. And that is an encouraging thought.
But in keeping with the spirit of the books, the words of a hobbit prove to be far wiser and more meaningful than even a grey wizard's. Hope isn't something you just get, it's something you choose to have, and every time you do, that's a victory. No matter how dark a situation is or how bleak the outlook, choosing to keep going, holding on to the good in this world, that's what makes you a hero, no matter how small you are. And that's why I think Sam's speech is the greatest speech in cinema. We all remember the great stories from our childhood, and by using those as an inspiration to choose to keep going and keep hoping, Sam transforms The Lord of the Rings from just another great movie into one of the great legends. The ones that really mattered. Thanks for watching, everyone. Obviously, media touches us all differently, and you all probably have different speeches from different movies that are your favorites. Personally, I'm a fan of big cheesy speeches like the ones we get in Rocky, where others might just kind of roll their eyes. So let me know what film speeches really stand out for you. Meanwhile, I'm gonna go cry at Sam's speech for the 100th time.